Namaskar everyone. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So let us start with our Gita Satsang today. We will start with Prarthana. By the Guru's grace and by the will of Shri Krishna, we have all assembled for this Gita Satsang. May we have their guidance to be able to learn and adopt the things which will help us to grow spiritually. Let us chant the prayers. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmane Pranata Klesha Nashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Ullara Vindaya Tapatra Netra Yena Tvarata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha. So we will move to the shlokas for today. We will take 3 shlokas today, just like last time. Shobhavare, do you want to chant the theme?
Namaste, ma'am.
Yeah.
Asmakam tu visishtaye tani bodhat vijottama nayaka mama sainyasya sanyartam tanbravamite bhavan bhishmascha karnascha kripascha samitinjayah ashvattama vikarnascha saumadatista taivacha अन्ये च बहवाश्रूरा मदर्थे त्यक्त जीविता नाना शस्त्र प्रहरणाः सर्वे युद्ध विशारदाः.
Thank you so much. So we will start with the explanation now. Ramanujadaya Patram Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam Srimad Venkatanathaaryam Vande Vedanta Deshikam Yo Nityamachyuta Padambuja Yukma Rukma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmad Guror Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindhoho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. So with a prayer to the Acharyas that they should help us to understand, we will go further now. So today's shlokas, we have taken 3 of them. In the previous set of shlokas that we took the last time, that was the 4th, 5th and 6th shlokas. So in those shlokas, we had seen that Duryodhana was describing to the Acharya, to Dronacharya, the arrangement of the Pandava army. Now, after having described the Pandava army and the great warriors on that side and how well they have been arranged, Duryodhana starts describing about the Kaurava army, about his side army. Okay. So this first verse, the 7th one, that Asmakam tu Vishishtaye Tanni Bodha Dvijottama Nayaka Mama Sainyasya Sanyartham Tan Bravimite. So he says, he is addressing Dronacharya, O best among the Brahmanas, Dvijottama, Uttama and Dvija. Dvija means Brahmana and Uttama means best among those people. So we know that originally Dronacharya, he is actually a Brahmana and he has become the Acharya for these Kauravas and Pandavas who are the Kshatriya class. So he is basically a Brahmana and he is their Acharya. So he addresses, Duryodhana addresses him as, oh, best of the Brahmins. What is he saying now? What is he telling Dronacharya? I will tell you, you listen about the main generals, the main warriors on our side who are very well qualified to lead. So now I will recount to you and you listen. These are the people on our side, he says. Then the 8th shloka, Bhavan. Bhavan means you, yourself. He's telling Dronacharya, you are there. Then Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Samitinjayah Ashwathama Vikarnascha Saumadattis Tathaivacha. So who is he is picking up certain names and he's telling their names. He says, you are there, O Dronacharya. Bhishma is there. Karna is there. Kripa is there. Then Ashwathama is there. Vikarna is there. And the son of Saumadatti. So Bhishma, we know he was the patriarch. He is the Pitamaha of the family. So he is telling about him. Then Karna, who is actually one of the Pandavas, but nobody else knows that except Kunti and Karna himself and Lord Krishna. Then Kripa. Kripa is also, he is the Kula Guru. So he is the Guru for the entire clan. He is the brother-in-law of Dronacharya because Kripa's sister, Kripi, is married to Dronacharya. Ashwathama is the son of Dronacharya. Vikarna is one of the Kauravas, and we will talk about him a little later. And there was a great warrior called Saumadatta, whose son he's talking about here. I think his name, he's called as Bhurishrava. So Saumadatti's son is there also here. And these are the people, warriors who are always victorious. Whichever battle they have gone into, they have always won. So he's trying to kind of, boost up their morale, that we also have good people on our side. And then he says, Anyecha Bahava Shura. So there are so many more great warriors, which means that he's not going to describe any more names. These few names he has recounted. And then he says there are many more Shuras, there are many more great warriors. Madarthe Tyakta Jivita. Madarthe means for my sake. What are they ready to do? They are ready to do Tyaga of their Jivan also. They are ready to give up their lives also. And Nana Shastra Praharana. They are very well trained, they are skilled in using different kinds of weapons, and they know the art of warfare. So by saying all these things, these three shlokas, Duryodhana is actually trying to tell Dronacharya that, okay, we have talked about the Pandavas and how they have mighty warriors on their side, but on our side also there are so many people like this, and all these people, they are ready to lay down their life for my sake. So he's kind of trying to build up their morale and say that we also have many good people on our side. We don't need to worry about the outcome of the battle. This is what he's trying to imply. But then the Acharyas comment that certain points in the shloka we need to observe. He says, Asmakan kamtu vishishtaye. That word tu means but on our side. So he's finished describing about the Pandava side and he says, but on our side. So the Acharya say, when he says this, but on our side, we have all these people, it could be in two ways. One is, he may be saying that the Pandava side has so many great warriors and all, but on our side also there are great people. He may be saying that, but like that. Or he may say, they are all great warriors, but on our side, we have only these kind of people. We have only these people, right? So it can be taken either way. And if we go with the spirit which was there in the previous shlokas where Duryodhana's fear is there, then it is quite likely that he's saying it in the second tone that I mentioned, that Pandava army have all these great warriors, but on our side, we have these warriors. He could be saying like that out of that fear. Then you notice that he says, Nayaka Mama Sainyascha. So he's saying Mama. Mama means mine. Now, they are all fighting the battle together, isn't it? They are all fighting the war together. So when he is addressing Dronacharya, is there any point of him saying, my army? Why is he not saying our army? That again points to the egoism or the arrogance that Duryodhana has. He is centered on himself. So, although it is the Kaurava army which is going to fight for all the Kauravas together, he is saying Mama Sainya. So he's trying hard to be, balanced and all that, but his inherent quality of arrogance is coming through in these words. Then another point to note is that he says he's telling Drona Bhavan, and then he's saying Bhishma and Karna. So why there are so many other great warriors, but he's mentioning them all later, or he is not mentioning their names at all, isn't it? But he's talking about Karna so soon, immediately after Drona and Bhishma, he's saying Karna. So that shows how much faith Duryodhana has put in the ability of Karna. Now he knows that if at all the Pandavas have to be destroyed, if at all Arjuna especially has to be destroyed, then there has to be someone who's equal in caliber, and that is where Karna comes into the picture. Also, it shows us that Duryodhana was not very sure about all the other people on his side, that they may have loyalty towards the Pandavas, maybe they have soft corner for Pandavas, but he knows that Karna has total loyalty only for himself, only for Duryodhana, right? So that is the reason why he speaks about Karna so soon in that shloka. Then he talks about Vikarna, right? I said that time that we will say who is this Vikarna. Now this Vikarna, he is also one of the Kauravas. And he is one of the brothers of this Duryodhana, Dushasana and all those other. We said there are 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, isn't it? So this Vikarna is also one of those sons. Now the speciality about Vikarna is that he was the only Kaurava who had raised a voice of dissent, who had opposed at the time when the Draupadi Vastraharan was going on. We know that infamous episode, isn't it? So at that time when everybody else was silent, and except for Vidura, nobody else opposed this whole episode, it was one of the Kauravas, Vikarna, who opposed that action. And he said, what you are doing is wrong. He opposed Duryodhana. However, at this time when the war has been declared, he has not, given up Duryodhana. He has stood by Duryodhana because he feels that it is his brother and he has to stand by him. So this is the Vikarna he's talking about. Now there are some commentaries where they say that this mention of Vikarna, or this Duryodhana is purposely mentioning Vikarna to say that even somebody who actually knows a lot about what is Dharma and Adharma is also supporting me in this war. So that means that we are correct only. So maybe he's trying to imply that. Then he says, no, Madarthe Tyakta Jivita. So they are all, he's describing, Duryodhana describes all these warriors and says, these are all people who are ready to give up their lives for me in this war. So in fact, it is in a very sarcastic manner, some commentaries write that it appears as if Duryodhana knows, even before the first arrow has been shot, Duryodhana knows that his side is going to lose and all these warriors are going to lose their lives because they are fighting on his side, right? So if we again look at this in the context of what we discussed in the previous satsangs, that somebody who is on the side of Dharma will always triumph, and somebody who is on the side of Adharma will not win. Then it appears apt that Duryodhana says that all these people, because they are siding with me, they are fighting on my side, they are going to lose their life. In a prophetic way, he's telling before the event happens itself. Then we can try to now look at what is it that we can understand from all these things which have been described in this shloka. So this idea, we said, no, that he's talking about mama sainya, it is mine, and this concept of I versus we. We all have studied, we have all heard that story in childhood, we would have been told, right? There was someone who wanted to show and prove that unity is strength. Then there were a few sticks, a few twigs which were lying around. So that person picked up that sticks and he broke each stick. When he tried to break a single stick, it broke very easily. But then what he did was, he took a few sticks and tied them together into a bundle. And then when he tried to break that bundle, it was very difficult. So that story is told to us to imply that unity is strength. If we are divided, we will fall, we will get broken. But if we are sticking by each other, then we are likely to succeed. So here in the context of the Mahabharata also, we can see that this attitude of Duryodhana, that I am supreme, that everybody should do for me, or I am the one who has to win, right? So that attitude is what we can say was also responsible for his loss, because he did not have the strength to take everybody together with him. And why that strength was not there? Because he was himself on the wrong side. Correct. So if somebody is on the path of adharma, then it is very easy for us to understand that yes, this person is wrong. So like the case of Duryodhana, we know he was on the wrong side. Now in our life, many times we have situations where we have to make a choice, and the choice we have to make is not between dharma and adharma, but between two things which are correct. So between two dharmas, when you have to choose, then that is a very difficult situation. And that is often what we call as a Dharmasankata, right? Sankata means a great calamity or a difficult situation. And dharma is righteousness. So when you have to choose between two right things, then that is when it becomes very difficult for us. So how do we go ahead in such situations? We must pray to God to guide us, and then we must choose whatever is the higher of the two dharmas. So to give you this example, the common complaint that is made, right? If you compare situations in the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. So we know about Vibhishana. Vibhishana was the brother of Ravana. He tried very much to tell Ravana that kidnapping Sita is wrong. You should return her to Rama. Don't go on this path. It is not good for you. It will only end in destruction. Not only you will be destroyed, the entire Rakshasa Kula will be destroyed. He tried as much as possible, but Ravana never listened to him. In fact, he said, you are a traitor to me. Being my own brother, you are advising against me. You go away from here, he says. And at that time, now Vibhishana has a Dharma Sankata, isn't it? So consider Vibhishana's situation. One is he knows that what Ravana is doing is wrong, so he can't stick to that side. And yet, because Ravana is his elder brother and he should listen to the brother, that is also dharma. So Vibhishana now has a choice to make, that whether he should listen to his brother or he should oppose his brother. Correct? So at that time, he takes the decision that although Ravana may be my brother, and by going against him, I am going against my Bhratra Dharma, but the fact remains that Rama is the very epitome of Dharma. So I have to stick to Rama. And the next moment, he goes away from Lanka and he approaches Rama and he surrenders to Lord Rama and he is accepted there. So that is the situation of Vibhishana. Then if we look at the situation of Karna in the Mahabharata. Now just little before the Yuddha starts, Kunti Devi goes to Karna and she reveals to him the secret of his birth. Now we all know this, isn't it? We know how Kunti Devi had served Durvasa Rishi very well and very was happy and pleased with her service and seva. So at that time she was not yet married. He gave her a boon. He taught her a mantra by which she could invoke any devata, any deity. And by invoking that deity, she would be able to have a child born from that deity. Right. So what happened is she was still young, but she was very curious and she wanted to experiment and see whether that mantra really worked. So in a fit of curiosity, what she did was she invoked the Surya Devata, the sun god, and Surya came there, and by his grace, she had a baby with her now. That baby was shining and bright and was born with the Kavacha and Kundala that was given by the sun god. So now she didn't know what to do, and out of fear, because people will talk things and it will be a very bad name for the family and for everything. So she was not wed. She couldn't afford to keep the child. She put the child into a basket and left it into the river, and that flowed down the river. And one charioteer called Radha, he picked up that baby, and that child came to be known as Radheya and later was Karna. So actually Karna is the eldest of the Pandavas. Now he didn't know this, But Kunti had recognized him at the time when he came to challenge Arjuna. And now, before the war, she goes to Karna and she reveals to him that actually the Pandavas are your brothers. You are the oldest of the Pandavas. And I cannot bear that any of you will be killed in the battle. But still, her love for Arjuna is definitely more. So, Karna promises her that I will not kill any of your other sons except Arjuna. So, if I am alive, you will still have 5 sons. If Arjuna is alive and I die, you will still have 5 sons. Right? Now, Karna knew the reality of his identity. Karna also knew that the side where Krishna is, that is the side of Dharma. So, he knew that the Pandavas are on the side of Dharma. And he had to make a choice again now between going to the Pandava side and sticking on with Duryodhana. He said that because out of gratitude for all the help that Duryodhana had done for him, at a time when no one accepted him, at a time when he was being insulted or looked down upon because he was a charioteer's son, it was Duryodhana who accepted him and said, I will make you king of Angadesha. So out of that debt of gratitude, out of that rina that he had, he said, I will stick by Duryodhana, whatever it may be. And he did not cross over to the other side. So if we look at this situation from a psychological point of view, right? We say Karna was no doubt a great person. He was a great warrior. He was very skilled, and he's known to have been a very, generous person, a great dani. Anybody asked anything, he would give it off very soon. So at this psychological level, we say Karna did not betray Duryodhana. He had the feeling of gratitude and he stood by it. And we appreciate that quality of Karna. So at the psychological level, if we look at it, Karna is right in his action. But as we do more and more spiritual practice, as we look at things from a spiritual point of view, then it starts appearing to us that what Karna did was not actually correct. And what Vibhishana did was the right path. So whenever we have to choose between God, between Dharma, and someone else, it may be our closest family relative, it may be our closest friend, whoever it may be, choosing God, choosing the Paramatma is the right step to take. So whatever a person has to do, right? Whatever dharma we have to follow, everybody has to follow, irrespective of our age, our gender, our situation, whatever it may be. There are certain things which are told that we must follow. Like it is told, you should not tell lies. You should always speak the truth. You should not harm others. So all these things, satyam, asteya, ahimsa, all these are coming under samanya dharma. But there is also another concept which is of Vishesha Dharma. So for particular situations, certain things are prescribed. For particular gender, certain thing is prescribed. For certain time, certain dharmas are prescribed. So like that, that is called as Vishesha Dharma. It's a special thing. So whenever it is a question of whether you should follow Samanya Dharma or you should follow Vishesha Dharma, if there is a crisis situation and there is a conflict between this Samanya Dharma and Vishesha Dharma, then it is advised that you should go with the Vishesha Dharma. Like, for example, we have given here examples of Prahlada. Now, normal Samanya Dharma says a child should obey the father, isn't it? That is the Putra Dharma he has. But if, like in the case of Prahlada and Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyakashipu was telling Prahlada, you are not supposed to say the name of Hari. You are not supposed to say Narayana's name. In that situation, if Prahlada had to look at his Putra Dharma, he would have gone on the wrong track. So at that time, it is a question of Vishesha Dharma. Praying to God is important. It is more important than the Dharma of obeying the father. So at that time, he makes the exception. Similarly, if you see the case of Urmila and Sita, Urmila was the wife of Lakshmana. Sita was Rama's wife. So when Rama had to go to Vanavasa, Sita said, I will follow you. Rama told her, you don't follow me, you stay here. It is very difficult in the forest. and it will be very difficult for us to manage there. You stay here. But she opposed him. So normally, what is the Patni Dharma, Stri Dharma? She should listen to the husband. But what was her idea here? That wherever Rama goes, my father has got me married to you. And just a little time ago, you told your mother Kausalya that it is her duty to stay with her husband. So for me also the same duty is applicable. And she insists and Sita goes with Rama. Now, when it is a case of Lakshmana, now Lakshmana says he will go with Rama to take care of his brother in the forest. Now what about Urmila? Lakshmana tells her, you stay back here and do your duties here. Why? Because if Urmila comes to the forest with Lakshmana, he will be distracted in his ability to perform his seva to Rama and Sita. So at that time, now we can question that for Sita, it was okay to go to forest. But for Urmila, we are not following the same rule. We are saying, although she is Lakshmana's wife, she should stay back in Ayodhya, right? So here again, when there is a question of Samanya Dharma, as a wife, Urmila should have followed Lakshmana. But because Lakshmana has the special duty of devoting all his attention to Rama and Sita Seva, then the Vishesha Dharma is that Arjuna should not go. I mean, Lakshmana has the Vishesha Dharma to follow. So then it is right that Urmila should not follow him. So like this, based on the situation, we have to decide about whether we follow the Samanya Dharma or the Vishesha Dharma. So whenever there is a conflict like this in our life and we are not able to make the decision, we can do one of two things. In fact, we should do firstly, we should ask some elders, some learned person for their guidance. And if we are not able to get that guidance, then we must pray to God for guidance and say that you only teach me which is the right way to take. And definitely, if we pray with faith, He will indicate to us in some manner about what is the right path that we are supposed to follow. So, this is what we can learn from these set of shlokas. So, we saw in these shlokas that Duryodhana is describing all the people on the Kaurava side. He is giving examples of all these people and he says they are ready to lay down their life for my sake. He is so arrogant that he is not bothered about the fact that he has brought them into a battle where they are likely to get killed. He knows deep within that he is not on the side of Dharma, and yet with great pride and arrogance, he says, my army, all these people are ready to fight for me and they are going to lay down their life. And all these people, knowingly, unknowingly, they have come and stood on the side of Duryodhana. So because they have sided with Dharma, it is almost definite that they are going to lose their lives by fighting on his side. So always, whenever in our life we have a choice to make, we must make sure that we choose to be on the side of Dharma where the Lord is. So if anybody, with that, I come to the end of what we had to discuss for today. If there is anyone who has any questions, you can unmute and ask. Is there anything anybody wants to comment or ask a question or make a...
Ansuya ji, you said about Samanya Dharma and Vishesha Dharma.
Yeah.
But as a layman, I think a lot of times we are confused. What is Samanya Dharma and Vishesha Dharma?
Yeah.
Because the examples that we take are like, it is very clear. Like for Vibhishana, that he wanted to be with Lord Ram. But in our daily lives, see, it is in every situation you have to decide. And it is actually a lot difficult because today in certain situation, between person A and B, maybe A is your parent and B is your uncle. So sometimes you feel, okay, A is wrong and B is right. But there are situations where B was also wrong and A was right. So for us as an individual, as kids, how do you do it? Because you have to stick to your parents.
Yeah, that is what I am saying, that we have to assess, right? Sometimes it is like we must not go by feeling that I feel they are correct or I feel they are wrong. If we let our emotion decide what is right and wrong, then we will get into a problem. If we let our intellect decide, So we must not get carried away with the emotion that the mind is forcing on us. We must try to clear our mind, clear out the emotion and look at it without emotion. And then our intellect will guide us and say that this is the right thing and that is not so right. So we will automatically know then in that situation what is actually right and what is wrong. Now, we may not always need to take a stand. Sometimes we may need to do nothing. At that time, doing nothing is also fine. But if it calls for some action from our side, then we must be ready to support whatever is the right thing, irrespective of who is right and who is wrong. Now, what you're telling is correct, that in daily life it can become quite tricky. Yes, it will be tricky. But
Because, yeah, it's like in one particular situation, A is right, sometimes B
yeah,
is right.
yeah.
You just can't keep on switching sides and every time trying to find the right.
No, but that is what I'm saying. If it is not about switching sides, it is about case-based support. You know that you can't blindly support somebody just because they are a particular relationship to you. You can't keep supporting them blindly, even if they do the wrong thing. And just because somebody else is not so close to you, you can't uh, disregard them for that reason if they are right. So we must keep our eyes open. As I said, what we are doing or what we are not doing, that is a different situation. If we need to do something and not do something, we have to take that decision. But if we are looking from a learning point of view, that we want to decide who is right and who is not right, then we will have to look at it without this lens of who is close to me, who is not close to me. That viveka we have to cultivate, and we can practice by looking at these situations like this. Many times we just ignore certain situations like this because it is difficult for us to come to terms with it. Like, we may be siding with the person who is actually not close to me, or we may have to go against somebody who is close to me. That will happen. But when we face that conflict, and we spend time in thinking about it, and we do some action on it, that is the time when some progress will occur. If we are expecting that everything in our life will go smoothly and I will not have to take any tough decisions, then that is against the very nature of life, isn't it? So if we want to grow adhyatmically, spiritually, you want to grow, then for that spiritual growth, there has to be conflict. There has to be a situation where you are going to pray to God and say, I surrender to you. You guide me through this. And then we take the difficult path. It is very difficult, no doubt, but we take that path with faith that God is going to guide me through that. And that is where there is an opportunity for spiritual growth to take place. It may not be necessary always that we should have the perfect answer, or that everything should get settled and everything will be rosy and nice. That will not. In such a situation, when everything is smooth and fine, there is no growth that happens. If you look at yourself and your life situations, whatever have happened so far, you will notice that at the times when you were happy, at the time when everything was going smooth for you and there was no conflict at all, there was no growth that happened. Whatever good thing you developed, whatever qualities you developed, whatever change in you or transformation for the positive happened, will have happened only when you went through a tough time. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So we cannot say that it will be easy. It will be difficult. But that is the whole point of having a difficulty. That I should learn that in that difficult situation, I am going to surrender to God. I am going to do Sharanagati to God. And I'm going to ask Him that you guide me. I don't know, because as long as I think that I am knowing what to do and I am going to act as per this guideline, till I think that I am the one in control, I don't surrender. And if I don't surrender, then my aham bhava is still very high. Then there is nothing that changes within me. There's nothing that changes in my progress. I don't progress. I stay where I am. But when there is a difficulty, when there is a problem, then I must view it as an opportunity. Oh, this is good, because now I will consciously surrender to God. And it may not happen from within. It's okay. But even with our intellect, if we say that, okay, I don't know what to do, Now, oh God, I'm surrendering to you. You guide me. So I'm giving an opportunity for the Lord to enter into my life. And I mean, he's always been there, but I don't call him, isn't it? But now I call him, he will rush and help me. He will teach me how to go through that. And in the process of going through that, my papa karma and all that will get washed away. My samskaras will go away. I mean, whatever impressions from past births, and I will go ahead. I will change maybe some 0.1%, and I will go and grow spiritually. So that is what we
I
must
mean,
do.
only if it is in a difficult time. I have faced it, and as you said, he takes care. I mean,
Yeah.
spiritually, whatever else we had to learn, a lot of things because we went through, because I think we had to learn in our process. We didn't know that,
Yeah,
and in that whole process, we have learned that few things.
correct.
So yeah.
So unless we are forced to learn, no, we don't learn. And the only
Yes,
thing is,
that is
a difficult situation will teach us, because that only penetrates deep into our subconscious and creates that strong thing, no? If everything is
yeah,
fine, then we are not bothered. Even we forget God. We are lost in our own happiness. We don't remember God also.
that's true.
Yeah. So
Thank
we
you,
must look at it
Anshul.
like that. Yeah. We have about 3 minutes left. Anybody else has anything to ask? Okay. If there is nothing else, we will offer Kritagnyata now. So let us offer Kritagnyata, gratitude at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to start and to join this satsang. And let us pray for their blessings and grace to always be on us. Namaskar and thank you.
Anshul.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
I
Auntie.
hope all of
Thank
you
you,
are
ma.
able to follow whatever I explain. I mean, is it understandable?
I think
Yes,
it
ma'am.
is. Yes, it is. And by asking such questions, there are certain doubts. It brings a little bit of clarity in our thought process.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Because my only worry is that it should not be that I'm telling something which, sounds very outlandish or something which is, very, very difficult. But then only when something is difficult, we will stretch a little to try that, isn't it? To say something
Yeah.
which is very easy for everybody to do, there is no change that happens through that.
No.
And,
I think for me, it brings a little bit of clarity of thought.
okay, fine, Zarnaj. Thank you.
Thank
Anybody
you,
else?
Anshul.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, ma.
Namaste.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody. And namaste. We will meet again next Tuesday, same time at 6:15. Namaskar.